Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, President Biden and former President Trump hit the campaign trail. More about how they are tackling the main problem for voters. And with violence continuing to consume the streets in Haiti, calls for the country's prime minister to step down intensify.
A gorgeous day today with lots of sunshine, high temps into the 50s. Even warmer temperatures are ahead for the rest of the week.
Dedicated to southern and eastern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 5:30.
Good evening, I'm Steve Huntsley. President Biden and former President Trump are staking their claims to issues they think will help them win the presidential election in November. CBS's Skylar Henry has the latest from the campaign trail.
President Biden took aim at former President Trump's health care policies during a campaign stop in the battleground state of New Hampshire.
Republicans will cut Social Security and Medicare to give us more tax cuts for the wealthy. Even this morning, Donald Trump said cuts to Social Security and Medicare are on the table again.
Despite the stepped-up attacks on Trump, Monday morning, Biden told city leaders from across the U.S. that he's making progress on uniting the country.
I promise to be president for all Americans, whether they voted for me or not. And we're making that real progress in red communities and blue communities. In fact, there are more investments going to red communities than blue communities.
But in a recent CBS News poll, 61% of Americans surveyed described the state of the country as divided. Trump continues to take aim at Biden's border policies at both his rallies and on social media.
Biden has implemented a formal policy that illegal aliens who intrude into the United States are granted immunity from deportation.
During a campaign stop in Georgia this weekend, Trump met with the family of Laken Riley. The suspect in the nursing student's murder crossed the border illegally.
Laken Riley would be alive today if Joe Biden had not willfully and maliciously eviscerated the borders of the United States.
Trump also criticized Biden for apologizing for calling the suspect an illegal rather than undocumented during the State of the Union address. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Washington.
President Biden, after being criticized by some Democrats, said he should have called the suspect undocumented instead of illegal. President Biden released his annual budget today. The $7.2 trillion budget proposal is an opportunity for President Biden to appeal to voters concerned about the economy. Proposals include lowering costs for families, boosting investments in U.S. manufacturing, and strengthening Social Security and Medicare. It also has provisions to raise taxes on large corporations, crack down on corporate profit shifting, and proposes a minimum 25% tax on billionaires. Donald Trump's attorneys asked a judge to delay the start of his criminal hush money trial until after the U.S. Supreme Court decides if he has presidential immunity. The trial is scheduled to begin on March 25th. The court was set to hear arguments in the immunity case a month later, but a ruling from the high court may not come until late June or early July. The New York case stems from reported hush money payments made by former Trump attorney Michael Cohen to adult film star Stormy Daniels. Earlier today, President Biden announced the resignation of Housing and Urban Development Secretary Marcia Fudge. Fudge says she will resign as HUD Secretary effective March 22nd. She told USA Today she has accomplished all she could and wanted to retire and go home to Ohio. President Biden thanked Fudge for her service and called her time at the department transformational. According to the White House, HUD Deputy Secretary Adrian Todman will take over as acting secretary. Tomorrow, Special Counsel Robert Hur will testify before the House Judiciary Committee. Last month, Hur released a report on his investigation into President Biden's handling of classified documents. Hur and his team determined there was not evidence to support a prosecution. However, the writing in that report cast President Biden as an elderly man who could be forgetful at times. Democrats blasted Hur's characterization shortly after the report's release. Senator Bob Menendez has pleaded not guilty to 12 new charges of obstructing a federal investigation. The New Jersey Democrat was indicted last week on charges of bribery and extortion. Prosecutors claim Menendez led his lawyers to provide false information during interviews with federal investigators. That includes a claim that the reported bribery amounts were actually loans. Menendez's wife, Nadine, was also in court today and also entered a not guilty plea. Former Trump advisor Peter Navarro has to report to prison by March 19th. He will be serving a 4-month sentence at a low-security prison in Florida for his contempt of Congress conviction. Navarro is still trying to appeal the conviction and has requested to stay free as that plays out. The Federal Appeals Court in Washington, D.C. is considering that motion. In September, Navarro was convicted on 2 counts of contempt of Congress for ignoring a House subpoena during the committee's January 6th investigation. The Biden administration says it expects Boeing to cooperate with investigations by the DOJ and the National Transportation Safety Board into the Alaska Airlines door blowout incident. After that incident 2 months ago, the airline says an inspection found loose bolts on many of its Boeing MAX 9s. But the company also acknowledged that it cannot find records related to the removal of the door panel, prompting criticism from transportation officials.
We need to go through a serious transformation here in terms of their responsiveness, their culture, and their quality issues.
That comment from Pete Buttigieg comes just days after a different Boeing aircraft, this one a United Airlines flight from San Francisco, lost at least one tire during takeoff. And the following day, another Boeing 737 rolled onto the grass while exiting the taxiway in Houston. No one was seriously hurt in either incident.
Lots of sunshine today and some gorgeous temperatures. And if you like today, well, you're definitely going to like the week ahead. Readings continue to warm on up out of the 50s into the 60s for highs and even some 70s. Not even a cloud out here as you look at our camera up here on Buffalo Mountain. Clear just about everywhere. The Whitesburg camera isn't too different either. Lots of sun here to show you. Hazard camera showing you full sunshine. Our temperatures have been generally in the 50s. There were a few thin wispy clouds on the horizon earlier on. Hard pressed to find them now. The rest of the area temperatures show Harlan sitting at 60 degrees. That will be your high of the day. Upper 50s for Middlesboro and Jacksboro. Monticello also at 50, upper 50s and 57 degrees there at Somerset, with low and mid 50s here found across the rest of the area. Satellite radar is very, very quiet. This is a loop of 12 hours, and you're hard-pressed to find again many of those clouds. A couple up here into West Virginia. That's really about it, and those were this morning. As you look back to the west, it is dry and quiet right on through the Tennessee River Valley. You cross all the way into the Central Plains, most of the Southern Plains. Not a lot going on. That area of high pressure will control our weather for the majority here of the upcoming work week. Our temps tonight will fall out of the 50s into the 40s, 30s, and 20s to start the day tomorrow morning. Tomorrow afternoon looks warmer, as do the next several days. I'll have more on that coming up, Steve.
All right, Mace, thank you. As powerful gangs try to overthrow Haiti's government, Secretary of State Antony Blinken attended a high-stakes meeting of Caribbean nations on the nearby island of Jamaica. They are pushing for a new transitional government in Haiti, with pressure mounting for the prime minister to resign. CBS's Jared Hill reports.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken met with Caribbean leaders in Jamaica amid the growing security crisis unfolding in Haiti.
Bringing CARICOM together is testament to Jamaica's leadership in the hemisphere that we share, leadership at a critical moment for Haiti, but also a critical moment for all of us.
Over the weekend, the U.S. military airlifted non-essential embassy personnel from the country as armed street gangs try to overtake the capital, Port-au-Prince. They showed up with big guns, this man says. We don't have any weapons. All the people you see here are going through misery. Amid the ongoing violence, the UN estimates 15,000 people have fled from their homes, and basic goods are in short supply.
And finally, we sign.
Haiti's Prime Minister Ariel Henry is in Puerto Rico. He's been unable to return to the island as gang leaders call for his ouster. U.S. lawmakers in Florida have been keeping a close eye on the crisis.
The more we allow the gang members to take over the country and be successful in their plans, the bigger security risk that we have to our country. Gangs warned there will be a civil war that will, quote, end in genocide unless Haiti's prime minister steps down. Jared Hill, CBS News.
The European Union and Germany have also evacuated staff as gang violence escalates across Haiti. Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, with the deadline for FAFSA being pushed back, we'll look at what you need to know so you can be prepared.
Sunshine into the area once again tomorrow. It will make for a great travel weather forecast as highs jump up into the 60s. I'll have all the details for the rest of the work week.